Hi everyone, I'm Walnut and welcome back to another Pokemon Scarlet and Violet VGC video. I took some time to change my OBS settings so the battles will look much better than before, so sit tight because I have a crazy battle to show off today. Before we get into the battles, I'm going to briefly go over the changes I made to the team. I finally settled on Rotom's Tera type, and I think the Ghost type that I've had is what I'm going to stick with, but I have replaced Thunderbolt with Hex to take advantage of Ghost Stab and all the status on the team. Levitate and Ghost Tera also means I'm immune to ground and fighting type moves, which is helpful in the Great Tusk matchup, and sometimes I can be completely immune to their sets if they're only running ground and fighting type moves. Scarlet has had its stat spread changed. I switched from a Jolly to Adamant Nature and moved some EVs from attack to HP. I have 10 more points in attack, which lets me KO Goldango more reliably, which is Scarlet's #1 job. The extra bulk is nice as well, as I've noticed I sometimes survive when I don't expect to. Lastly, I put Wide Guard on Iron Valiant. Wide Guard is useful against the many spread moves in the format like Dazzling Gleam, Expanding Force, Icy Wind, and Earthquake. Destiny Bond is a cool concept that I may revisit, but it is unreliable. That's it for the team changes, time to get into the battles. My opponent is bringing Flutter Mane, Iron Bundle, Annihilate, Arcanine, Maushold, and Great Tusk. To be honest, I am pretty scared of Annihilate, so instead of my usual Screampolt lead, I'm looking to bring Iron Valiant in Screamtail's place. Iron Valiant and Dragapult can threaten fast KOs on my opponent, such as on a Maushold before I can beat up, or on a Great Tusk. Wide Guard and Focus Sash are also nice into Flutter Mane and Iron Bundle, and Will-O-Wisp is something I could use to mitigate damage from Annihilate. In the back, I like Rotom-Wash. Ghost Tera looks pretty useful here, and it provides offensive pressure versus Iron Bundle, Arcanine, and Great Tusk. Lastly, I will be bringing Screamtail as I love the bulk, speed control, and disruption it provides. Scizor struggles versus the Annihilate and kinda needs a Tera to do things versus Arcanine and Tusk. Scarlet also feels vulnerable versus the Annihilate and doesn't feel like it provides enough offensive pressure, especially if they are a Terrifier Annihilate. In hindsight, I think the 4 mons that I brought are a little bit weak to the Flutter Mane, but I think I'd still be able to stop Flutter Mane with a combination of Light Screen or Wide Guard and Screamtail Paralysis. Then I could go for something like Hex with Rotom. My opponent is going to be leading the Iron Bundle and the Arcanine versus my Iron Valiant and Dragapult. With this lead, I also do get to ignore the Arcanine's Intimidate, as I do have Clear Body on my physical attacker. Unfortunately, I won't be able to ignore this booster energy speed from the Iron Bundle, so Iron Bundle will be the fastest mon on the field here, so I won't be able to KO it before I can move with my Iron Valiant. So from their team, I could see maybe an Icy Wind or Freeze Dry into the Dragapult slot, but since my mons wouldn't be outsped by Arcanine after the Icy Wind, I felt like they weren't really going to go for that, so I don't think it was worth to go for a Wide Guard here. So I'm just going to aim an Aura Sphere at the Iron Bundle and hopefully get the KO. And I'm going to go for a Dragon Darts, as I think that's my best move on the Dragapult for this turn. Light Screen is just for the Iron Bundle and Flutter Mane, and the Iron Bundle should be fainting this turn unless it is like Tera Ghost. I don't think they're going to be going for a Hydro Pump into Iron Valiant because it is risky and I do have a Dragapult, right there. You could just go for the accurate Ice type move. I think I could also go for a U-turn here if I really wanted to and switch Dragapult in to someone in the back who provides more offensive pressure, maybe like Rotom versus the Arcanine. The Freeze Dry is going to bring me down to my Focus Sash, and Aura Sphere is going to pick up the KO on Iron Bundle. That means my Dragon Darts are going to be redirected into this Arcanine here. We do half its HP in damage, but there's no Berry proc, so it's not Citrus Berry. We go for a Play Rough, but even though I don't have any bulk, it only does a little over half my HP. So I'm wondering what the item is on the Arcanine a little bit. It's definitely not a Citrus Berry, and it might not be Safety Goggles since there's a Maushold on this team. So I'm guessing it's an Assault Vest here. So I'm not going to be throwing my special attack into the Arcanine, I'm just going to go for a Moonblast into the Annihilate. I'm expecting something defensive from them here, either Protect or a Tera. And on the Dragapult slot, I'll just go for a Dragon Darts again. I could have gone for a Will-O-Wisp into the Annihilate, but since the Iron Valiant wouldn't be able to KO the Arcanine with an Aura Sphere, I think it'd be more worth to go for a Dragon Darts in case they go for Protect on the Annihilate, because I'm not sure if they'll commit the Tera just yet. And they are going to go for the Protect here, so that means I'm just going to be picking up the KO on Arcanine, which is all okay with me. Since they had the Annihilate, I am expecting the Maushold in the back. There are only 2 Pokemon left though, so the beat up won't be getting too many stacks on their team, especially if I did get a status on one of their mons. So it could be possible that this Maushold is actually Wide Lens and Population Bomb and might be stacking up Annihilate that way. In that case, the Annihilate would have to Tera here, which means my Iron Valiant can go for an Aura Sphere into the Maushold and stop it from getting the stacks up. I'm just going to go for a Dragon Darts on the Dragapult to make sure I pick up that KO. This play does lose to a Tera Ghost Maushold, however since I did throw the Moonblast into the Iron Valiant this turn, and since they do need these stacks to actually deal damage, I don't think the Tera Ghost is likely. My opponent does go for the Tera here, and it's on the Annihilate, so good thing for us. It is not a Tera Fire Annihilate though. I am kind of used to the Series 1 Annihilates, and I feel like a lot of those were Tera Fire. This isn't a Tera Steel, so I do have the option of Will-O-Wisping into it. The Aura Sphere is going to deal enough to the Maushold that the Dragon Darts is going to be able to pick it up. And we are going to stack the Annihilate's Rage Fist by 1. And Rage Fist will be picking up the KO on the Iron Valiant here. For this coming turn, since the Annihilate is only at 1 stack, I think I can bring in Screamtail first. I should be able to live a Rage Fist and then I can disable it. I'll just go for a Will-O-Wisp here just to try to protect the Screamtail, and I don't want to really stack the Rage Fist further. I recently caught a shiny Screamtail, and since it had an attack IV of 1, I thought I would use it on the team. We go for the Will-O-Wisp, but unfortunately it misses the Annihilate, so the Annihilate is going to have a very powerful Rage Fist into this Screamtail. Luckily we do still survive, and we're going to be able to get a Disable off on the Annihilate. So that means the Annihilate's only attacking move should be this Drain Punch, and I have a bulky Fairy Psychic type, and I have a Ghost type out on the field, so you know, Drain Punch is not a problem for me. This turn I go for another Will-O-Wisp, however I think I should have immediately went for Thunder Wave instead, just to make sure I can prevent the Annihilate from ever using Rage Fist again. I also went for Dazzling Gleam on the Screamtail here, just because I wasn't really caring about the Rage Fist stacks. I kinda wanted to try winning off a Burn Chip plus Encore, but I think the Thunder Wave and a U-turn here would have been more reliable. So this turn I'm going to go for the play that I should have done. I'm just going to get a Thunder Wave off on the Annihilate. Luckily that Wisp didn't hit, though it doesn't really matter since around the time that the Disable ends I could just throw an Encore on the Annihilate and prevent it from using Rage Fist. We are going to go for the U-turn, switch in Rotom here. Rotom should be pretty safe because why would you ever aim a Train Punch at Dragapult? And our opponent is going to go for a Bulk Up here. It really doesn't matter what my opponent went for, since my Thunder Wave will be able to slow it down now, and I can just Encore it. Bulk Up would be preferable though, because I don't really want to deal with all those Protect turns. So now that Annihilate is paralyzed, I can just go for Encore and Hex Spam into the Annihilate slot. The game is pretty much won from this position. They can't outspeed my Screamtail, and they will not be able to lock themselves into Rage Fist to defeat my team. My opponent is going to go for Protect here, but they're really just delaying the inevitable. Maybe they're trying to see if there's any hope that they can stall enough turns that their Rage Fist comes back up, but now that they see the Encore, they should know that they've lost. You do get the Encore off, so they haven't forfeited just yet. And this Hex is going to deal a decent, and not that much damage to Annihilate, let's be honest. So yeah, they're just going to be locked into Protect. In a few turns I could use Disable if I wanted to again, and cause them to struggle. Even with a Bulk Up, I don't think the bulked up struggle is going to be enough to KO my team, especially since I have this bulky Rotom with a berry. And the battle will be cancelled, so good game to our opponent. My next opponent is running Talonflame, Fluttermane, Great Tusk, Dondozo, Tatsugiri Curly Form, and Pawmot. Here I feel pretty safe going for the Scream Pult lead since the Focus Sash is nice to have to guarantee live a turn, and I might be able to catch my opponent by surprise with Will-O-Wisp on Dondozo or Great Tusk. Scream Tail lets me slow down the Fluttermane for my mons in the back, and I might be able to Encore the Dondozo if they try to go for a substitute, or just to Encore it into an attacking move to make sure it's unable to stall me out with healing. Rotom has a good matchup versus Dondozo, Talonflame, and Great Tusk, while the Ghost Tera also gives me options versus a potential Pawmot Fakeout. Lastly, I'll be bringing Iron Valiant as I think the fast fairy damage is pretty valuable here. Fairy and Fighting also hit Dragon and Steel, two potential Dondozo Tera types. Sarilege is an interesting consideration as Tera Grass is really good into Tera Steel Dondozo, but I get destroyed by the Dragon one. Scizor can't do anything versus Dondozo, so I will not be bringing Scizor to this one. My opponent's going to be leading the Talonflame and the Great Tusk versus my Screamtail and Dragapult. I'm expecting a Tailwind and an attack from their side. I'm going to be going for a Will-O-Wisp onto the Great Tusk and a Thunder Wave onto the Talonflame. I probably should have went for an Encore since I am expecting that Tailwind, and the Encore would prevent the Talonflame from doing anything useful in the following turn. The Great Tusk is going to go for an Earthquake here, going to do a lot of spread damage to both my mons. And the Great Tusk is Life Orb. Unfortunately, Will-O-Wisp misses the Great Tusk, and unfortunately, Thunder Wave also misses Talonflame. So it was a pretty awful first turn for me, but you know, that is the risk when using not fully accurate moves. This turn I'm just going to go for another Thunder Wave into the Screamtail, hopefully try to slow down the Talonflame for something in the back to handle a little bit better. I am expecting a Brave Bird and an Earthquake, but I am hoping Screamtail lives the hit. And then on the Dragapult slot I'm going to switch to Rotom to survive the Earthquake. The Talonflame is going to go for a Brave Bird into the Screamtail, but it looks like it does a little too much damage, so I will not be able to live the Earthquake here. Luckily, Rotom does come in safely, as now we can threaten a KO on the Talonflame, as I find that to be a bigger threat, since the Great Tusk could be completely walled by my Tera Ghost. And considering it is a Life Orb set and that I use Protect, there's only so many other moves that I could have. Since it has Earthquake, I'm assuming it also has Headlong Rush and Close Combat, so I feel pretty safe going for the Tera Ghost to try to wall the Great Tusk here. This turn I'm going to just use a Will-O-Wisp with the Dragapult into the Great Tusk. It's most likely going to get knocked out by the Talonflame here. And on the Rotom slot, I'm going to go for a Hydro Pump into the Talonflame. I wasn't sure if Volt Switch would KO from this range, since apparently it only does 81% minimum, and you know, that looks a little bit more than 81%, so I thought I'd go for the Hydro Pump. I probably should have went for the roll, as the roll is probably better than it is for the accuracy check. Alright, and the Tera does come out for Rotom here. We're going to be completely safe from the Great Tusk this turn at least, in case they do go for a Close Combat into the Rotom slot. But they're actually just going to go for a Protect here, which is okay with me, as we are mostly targeting down the Talonflame. Brave Bird does pick up the Dragapult here. Unfortunately, Hydro Pump does miss the Talonflame. So we've had quite a few misses so far. But I probably should have just Volt Switched anyways, since it did take some recoil damage. It does make the roll a little bit better. Additionally, Volt Switch is a little bit better in case they go for a Dondozo switch. So Iron Valiant is the only one left. I'm going to send it in. Since it's the only one who can get hit by Great Tusk, I'm expecting an attack from that slot. I'm going to protect with Iron Valiant, stall out the Tailwind, and then I'll try to go for a KO on the Talonflame. We're going to be switching in the Dondozo for the Great Tusk here. But we do protect. Luckily they didn't switch in the Tatsugiri, or else that turn would have been completely wasted for me. My opponent's going to go for a Brave Bird onto the Iron Valiant slot, so please Rotom, pick up the KO. And it does land the Hydro Pump. So even though I probably should have Volt Switched, luckily we do pick up the KO on Talonflame eventually. Though it is going to be pretty hard to break the Dondozo with just these two Mons. So Tatsugiri switches in after the KO. Small note, do not switch in Tatsugiri like this. If you're planning on using Tatsugiri Dondozo combo the next turn, switch in Great Tusk first. Then that way I might target the Tusk, and then you can just switch the Tusk for Tatsugiri. You'll still get all the boost, but you might avoid an attack into the Dondozo. This turn I'm scared of a Will-O-Wisp because it might have Substitute, but I'm not expecting a turn 1 sub because that play doesn't do well into Moonblast and Volt Switch. So I'm going to go for a Moonblast and Wisp in case they try to attack. But they actually just go for Protect instead, which is fine because now they've seen the Will-O-Wisp and that might bait them to sub, which is really good for me if I just go for Moonblast and Volt Switch. Of course, I'm not sure if they have Substitute. They could be Chesto Resto, but I am not sure. I am considering the Aura Sphere here in case they do go for a Terra Steel, because then Moonblast would not be doing too much damage. But since they haven't gone for anything like that yet, I felt safe just going for a Moonblast Volt Switch. Moonblast does a little bit to Dondozo, and they do go for the sub, so it's going to be a pretty good turn for me since they're not making any progress on my Mons and just losing some HP. We're going to be able to take down the Dondozo Substitute with a Volt Switch from our Rotom. And we are also going to learn that the Dondozo is holding a leftover, so it's not Chesto Resto. So it's definitely got to be a little bit scared of the Will-O-Wisp at least. This turn I'm expecting a Protect for the leftovers recovery. Since I am a little scared of the defensive Terra from Dondozo, I'm going to at least throw Aura Sphere to threaten a potential Steel Terra. But since they haven't Terra'd at all, I'm assuming it's actually a Dragon Terra, which would be weak to the Moonblast. And I'm just going to keep using Volt Switch because I feel like there's not too much reason not to. I'm going to heal a little bit more from the leftovers. But my play doesn't really change. I'm just going to try to KO the Dondozo as fast as possible. Moonblast does a little more damage, does drop the special attack, and they're going to go for a Wave Crash into the Rotom. It brings Rotom so low, but because of our defensive bulk, we do survive, and we're going to be able to heal up with the Citrus Berry. So we will be able to Volt Switch with the Rotom this turn. And luckily it picks up the KO on Dondozo, leaving the Tatsugiri on the field. So they just have Tatsugiri and Great Tusk left, and now the game is looking pretty winnable. If I'm able to focus on the Tatsugiri, and I just pray that the Great Tusk can't hit Rotom, that could be a win condition if Rotom's still alive. Though I am kind of expecting a Draco from the Tatsugiri into the Rotom, but that could miss. Additionally, the Draco means that they wouldn't be able to hit the Iron Valiant, and I also have Wide Guard as well, so I could use that as a win condition. However, the Great Tusk is scary since it isn't burned, so I'd be able to OHKO Valiant with a Headlong Rush. So I'm just going to launch everything into Tatsugiri. It is Terra Water, so it will be able to survive this Moonblast. but we do get the special attack drop on the Moonblast, which means this Muddy Water that they went for is going to be doing less damage. And Rotom survives on 5 HP. Iron Valiant's accuracy drops, and it's going to fall to the Headlong Rush. But the Volt Switch from the Rotom should be able to pick up the Tatsugiri here. And since it's used Headlong Rush, Earthquake, and Protect, this Great Tusk should not be able to attack Rotom. As long as we pick up the KO on Tatsugiri, and we do. So before you call me a lucky dog for getting that special attack drop on the Moonblast, just remember I missed all those moves in the beginning. Some of those weren't the perfect play, but yeah, that was still quite unlucky that I missed so many Will-O-Wisps in this episode. So here's the moment of truth. Will the Great Tusk be able to hit Rotom? No, it will not. It's just going to be able to protect, and the only way they'd be able to win is if they somehow timer stalled me and I like missed every single Hydro Pump or missed like every single Will-O-Wisp and wasn't able to like drop its HP at all. But yeah, as long as I make it take some damage, I should be able to win the game. I haven't seen any timer pop-ups yet, but yeah, battle's gonna be cancelled and we're gonna win. So, insane beginning to the battle. I definitely should have played that turn one a little bit better and just went for an Encore on the Talonflame. Some of my moves also didn't really account for a potential Dondozo Tatsugiri switching immediately, but my opponent didn't really go for that, so we were able to win the game. After a game like that, I don't know if my luck is good or bad, but either way, I am scared of it. So that's going to be all for today's video. If you made it this far, thank you so much for watching. I would appreciate it if you liked and subscribed. I've been cooking up another team recently, but I had to send it back to the kitchen since I think it's a little too weak right now. Leave a comment guessing which Paradox Pokemon will be on my next team, and until then, bye bye.